Good morning, Taryn. It's good to see you're in such a jolly mood there. All right. Thank you, Nathan. We'll see. All right. So, nasty day yesterday. Right, sell-off got going there and just couldn't lift off the mat. And we see it now down to our first downside target, which is here at 320, right down there. We talked about this double pivot low area down here. And while it hasn't shown any real life, so to speak, of buying, I'm interested actually to see if it holds here for a long trade sometime today. That, of course, this could be a turnaround. I don't know for sure just yet, right? You never know until you know. And, we talk about an event or something happens that jumps out. Right now, we've got a big red bar, and it's a big red bar that came down from resistance down to support. Now, this is not the first time it's down at support, whereas it was a couple of days ago where it falls, from a support area or breaks through it and comes down the first time, and here it gapped down and it hit this area. So the thought process behind that, everything about MTS is about building a thought process. And part of that thought process is, well, the first time coming down here, it's likely to bounce because, it came from up here all the way down there and it's a target. But however, it's been tested once. And, as being tested once, some of the, the energy, reliability, I don't know the right word at this moment, the potency of that as a reference point gets used up to some degree. Now, I can see as this is inching down, and I actually like that, because what I want to see, if I'm going to even consider go long, I want to see it break down through here, and that's what it's doing. And I want to see it break down through there because I want it to become a little climactic. I want to see stops taken out. I want to see those that, maybe bought here, throw in the towel, that kind of price pattern, and then the beginnings of a turnaround. Now, of course, we wait for that to actually happen to see, does that scenario play out, or is it some kind of nasty day that follows through today where it just keeps dropping down to here? None of us know. I know, as it's down in this area, it fell from this resistance area all the way down to the support area. And most times it breaks down through it and then it begins to turn up. So the wide range bar is a momentum move in a smaller time frame, which creates a void up above. And so that opens up the door to a turnaround day. Could be a meaningful turnaround day because of the way it came down. Most would think that that is impossible because the experience they had yesterday with that kind of negativity, right? So be open to it. It happens. We'll see. And if it happens, it may be just for today. We take it day by day, so it's bar by bar, pivot by pivot. Is it at support? We look at other markets to see if there's an alignment. You'll see as time goes on how it all will come together. The weekly chart looks actually okay. I mean, it had this little overlapping bars or stall, which is right here. I think I mentioned this yesterday or the day before as the initial drop and filling the tank for the next drop. And so that's what we've seen happen here. So it's at a destination for the second time, a little deeper into it, and we'll see how this actually plays out. As you can see, some buyers are stepping up here as I speak. So maybe that turnaround is beginning. Too early to tell, but we shall see. This is pullback within an uptrend. It's in an area that would make sense for it to turn around. But obviously we need to see that reversal bar, and the evidence of that reversal bar, if it forms here, will become evident and clear to us on the daily time frame first, and of course on the intraday time frames. All right. So let's see what the other markets are looking at. Like here, the Qs. Now this is a bit different, right? This actually looks like it could just keep going down. But I mean, it just could be a sloppy thing like this. But by showing relative strength, it actually makes this one more vulnerable to dropping. It pushes down through here. So it's at 260-ish, right? It's right there. It's right there on the low. So a similar pattern, it's gapping down here. And if they turn around still, as a morning trade, it's probably going to be a long, just because it went from here down to here. Now it's gapping down there. So I'm thinking, a long first thing in the morning, and maybe it surprises us with how far it goes. If it can't lift off from here, well, we'll see that, as things unfold. The Russell, I look at a chart like that and I say, it just has to go down to this low. There's nothing to stop it. Nothing. It's an unfilled gap down here. So that one doesn't line up with the others. It's weaker. And look, the weekly here looks like a continuation pattern, but the Russell can do its own thing while the others begin to stabilize. We've seen that enough in the past where it can lead on the way down and then play catch up. So big ugly bar there. We'll see. So we don't have complete alignment of things here. Let me look at the transports. Held up relatively well. So we'll be keeping an eye on this, as to whether it breaks down through this support here. So, set an alert. You don't have to be watching this, but set an alert to kind of have it monitor that. This weekly chart certainly looks like it could go lower. So I'll set an alert on that. See that bonds are still just flip-flopping back and forth. Stay away. I don't know what it's going to do. And crude oil, I mentioned when this happened, don't be giddy to jump on the short side here. It's a dangerous one to short, to think that it's going to keep going. Now that it's up here where there's price resistance, some selling came in and just moving back and forth here. So I'm not so sure what that's going to do. I don't really care for this kind of a pattern. We'll see if it does show some weakness, but it just spent the longest time going nowhere. It breaks out, comes in. I just don't like it. I'm not sure what it's going to do. Gold got its butt kicked. That consolidation that, was looking pretty bullish on the higher time frame. Like it was just going to wait for the markets to do whatever they're going to do. Everything was getting sold yesterday, and down it went. So it's obviously broken down here, and it's going to need time to repair the damage. So we'll see if it just keeps going down. We look at what the next downside target is, which would be down here. Or can it create some support? Meaning, does this turn out to be a shakeout? You don't know until you know, meaning after the fact. Right now, there's nothing to stop it from going down. So the assumption is it'll go lower. And let me just bring that down there and turn it red to make it stronger as a reference point. Just kidding. And silver broke as well. Nasty breakdown. So looks like that should just keep going down, short retracements. And once it gets down, possibly, you just don't know, but once it gets down into this area, which is where you would think it goes, because there is no price support, that's the thought. Or the other concept is that it creates support. How does it do that? Well, does something like this. And then that becomes a pivot, and then you get a retest, and buyers use that as a new reference point. And, so while the thought of it coming down here makes sense, if you get called a W bottom, which starts with a pivot and then a retest, well, then it could go back up again. I don't know if that's going to happen, but that is a systematic thought process that we teach that says, hey, we thought it would go down here. Now there's new information to suggest that's less likely to happen. Do you want to wait for it to come down here, or do you want to participate if it begins to turn around over here? Right? So, been here, said this is new. That's the way to do it. Right? So you stay objective about what's happening. So while we can have an opinion, right, and opinions are not facts, right? Opinions are things that we think are going to happen. This creating support is a fact. And we look at how it forms, and then you make a decision based on new information that is facts. Oh, I wanted to look at our internals today because of yesterday. Hold on. And so now we have sentiment. Finally, the wrong way option traders are coming to their senses. And some downside action today. I mean, when I say buying at the open, possibly if it forms, doesn't mean it can't go down in the afternoon. Right? It doesn't mean this is all over. We have to see how today develops. But we now have breadth at a bullish level. And I mentioned to you, I believe earlier in the week, that if we see this breadth number down in the area of a minus 300, every time the market will turn around within a day or two. Right? And ideally, if that happens, this sentiment number is pushing down into this area. So we'll keep an eye on that as well. So things are coming together and getting closer to the price support levels. The weeklies are still in uptrends, which is good. And as this unfolds, we will get patterns within the daily time frames that will guide us to participating for the end of day, end of year rally. Can you believe that? We're coming close to the end of the year. Amazing. All yours, Dan. What do you use for breath? Come on, McGraw, you've been here forever. McClellan oscillator, not the fancy one that whatever, optimized or normalized or whatever, just the same old one that's been around forever. Yeah.
Yeah, McGraw, come on now.
Come on, man.
All righty. All right, so we don't have a lot of inventory. We tightened some stops on some things yesterday. I got a couple put spreads. Snow is, we got a most stop 30-minute low that's gapping under it. The other ones, they're down a little bit, but we're okay. I'll keep an eye on everything, obviously. I was just working on a chart lesson while Greg was talking there. I posted it in our Facebook group that this was a climactic buy setup, Spider's 15-minute on support. And then I showed the 5-minute chart where we're looking for the turn, and this was live yesterday. We were sitting here watching it. And yeah, you had short covering. Yeah, you had buyers, looking at this, trying to do the climactic buy setup like we were doing. And I was saying live that because it was so weak, the buyers were still in control. And it was a power afternoon downtrend from a beautiful sell setup with an M top to boot. This M top on a 15, look at that sell setup. I mean, it happened right over lunch, unfortunately, right after MT Live when I was gone, but wow. So anyway, the point I'm also leading to is, as this was falling, I was saying we had a bias to short bounces because of the bearish daily, weekly, monthly. And now we're continuing down, so it's, going to make it harder. But I like the internals that Greg just showed. So yeah, I would love another washout today. Get those internals cooked more. Let's see, Tesla, YouTube's asking about. Tesla short, they're asking. It's down 3 days, gapping down. You don't have an ideal place, but yeah, the gap down yesterday was very bearish. And we actually mentioned this pre-market yesterday, that you had a beautiful sell setup pre-market. Look. And I use my pre-market charts when I trade gappers like this, or really anything at the open. This was a sell setup with a bearish engulfing bar pre-market. So that's supported. And then when the market opened, it supported a bearish bias, but just even down from here, 430 to 360 is down $70 in 2 days. You're getting on board a moving train. Yeah, definitely, Alex. Absolutely, we did. And that was the right thing to do. Let's look at gappers here. DPHC, 20 and change. And it's climactic pre-market. That 30-minute high is a possibility. Netty is taken off, but the gap's too big, $15. I don't know what the news is. Solo, somebody was telling me yesterday in the green room that, do you remember how it was marijuana? Do you remember how it was the internet days? Do you remember how people just get something in their head? It's coronavirus. It's been, either a corona vaccine or stay at home stock. And just people get in their head, oh, it's the new one of that industry. So they just get crazy demand chasing them. And somebody in the room told me yesterday that it was the new buzzword, so to speak, is EV, electric vehicles. And so that's what's making this solo right now pop. But solo, the gap's not too big. This one I like a lot. So I put it here in this middle chart right here. So this is a definite candidate if it shapes up. But look yesterday, Sun W, look at this crazy move from 77 cents to 450. And now it's gapping over the high. This is crazy price action. This looks like it has Robinhood's name just ingrained all up and down it. SPI, it's the same thing. Crazy price action. This is poster child Robinhood. This is nuts, folks. This went from $1.50 to 45. You know what? I got to put that. Next week, we're going to talk about climactic buy and sell setups. I'm going to put this chart. I'm going to put this in the slides. Yeah, BlackBerry I have here in my list. BB right here. 510. Yeah. Another bottoming pattern. It tried to launch. Look at that, greater than 100% smack back down. Kind of like our stupid X. we bought this. We got sucked into this wide range igniting. We had a beautiful open profit, and look at that. That's a bottoming pattern. Yeah, exactly, Teron. I read that in the journal this morning. I'm full. What do we got here? 47 bucks. No pattern, but you know, anything kind of gapping today has the benefit of some relative strength. Oh, Peter, I respectfully disagree with you. They'll tax mileage. They are taxing machines out there. They don't you be afraid of them taxing you if you live there. Some congressman is talking about wanting to tax you for 10 years after you leave. I'm like, what hallucinogenic are you on? And I watched him. I wanted to see what the Mierde would come out of his mouth. And he pulled the Obama playbook to a T. He said, you didn't build that bridge. He said, you made your money because of California, and you're going to pay us for the next 10 years after you leave. I'm like, get me out of this state. I lived there 7.5 years, and I was so happy to leave. All right, FedEx here. So Greg, actually, I just posted this on Facebook too. I did a chart lesson on this, and I said, look, even though this looks climactic right there, and it is a climactic sell setup, I said, this is a power trend that you do not want to fade until we get a different setup, you know, like and yeah, I'm sharing. Otherwise I'd be Steven. I'd be having hundreds of people yelling at me if you couldn't see my screen by now at 9:25. So anyway, FedEx here was green. It got an upgrade, but no pattern. So I'm going to delete you. Jeffries had earnings. 1840. There you go. 30-minute high. It's very, very sloppy trading range. Sloppy trading range, but 30-minute high. Then it either happens or it doesn't. And we'll see how it sets up. Nikola got a downgrade. Wow, we dodged a bullet on this thing. It gapped way against us. We had a put spread, and we got out on a bounce. And wow, yeah, that got a downgrade, and I think down to 15 bucks. That's just a stay away when they're in the middle of the news. You got the short seller coming after them. In a reputable short seller, when they put out their trash reports, then I wouldn't jump, I wouldn't fade it unless you had a beautiful pattern. All right, RAD, 13 bucks, gapping down a little bit, had a little breakout failure. So I would favor the short side on that. Jake saying square upgrade. Yeah, this actually is one of our open positions. So we have a put spread under the WRB. We also have Chewy put spread. And we only have 3 open positions on the weekly options trader. And the third one, since we're talking about it, is pins. Let's see. We were, you know, very selective. I had a long talk with Jake here in the room yesterday when he's like, hey, why are you giving us longs if you thought the market was going down? And then we talked about it. I'm not going to get into it now. Chug. You know what, David? Did I give a put spread on this and give the wrong symbol? Because I looked in Telegram yesterday and couldn't find it. But let's come back and investigate that. If you're in Chug, it looks fine. Oh, okay. I mean, Chug, relative strength. So that's another one of those. It was bucking the trend. You know, it can relative strength. You know, patterns just jump out at me. Look at this, folks. Look at this M top right here. After new high plus, right time with the market selling off. Wow. Now see, that's an M. That's an M right out of your you know, lettering scrapbook. All right, let me continue. KMX, very, very sloppy. I have no interest in that. Well, it had earnings. We'll come back to it at 33.50. Bullish gap, but very sloppy. We'll come back to it. FDS, no pattern. What on the daily, what pattern jumps out at me is a bear flag. You know, 30-degree counter trend rally, but it's sloppy. DRI, 93 bucks, gap into resistance. No interest. There's the BB, SSP, 1317. So it is a bullish gap. Let me see how much price void we have on the weekly. Gapping right to this sell setup. It's setting up as a possible day trade long. You know, gapped up coming in. If you can put it in a thumbnail, if you're a day trader, and if this sets up as a 15-minute double bottom, then that looks really good. ACN had, I don't know if it was earnings or what, but 218. This McGraw will be a beautiful, beautiful call spread candidate over yesterday's high. So let's, yeah, I'll put that in the window. That looks good for a call spread. And, you know, I'm not going to even look. I'm not going to even look in the first 10 minutes because the spreads are going to be asinine. Well, now I see that gap's too big. There's no way we're going to get any juice for that. Gap's too big. Polo, this looks like another Robin Hood toy. SBE, this is what we call a bullish gap surprise. It's a deep retracement though, gave up its pre-morning strength, so that's a sign of weakness. But this gap favors a day trade long. Parham, we stopped out